Hey, now I will share an insight that has to do with becoming aware of thoughts in the thought space, in the mind space within you. And I have no idea why the image right now is flashing from red to blue. So let's look at this. Let's become aware of the thought space within us. And let's become aware of a thought. And especially visual thoughts. So let's close the eyes and pay attention to the next visual thought. And especially the beginning of the thought, how the undefined mental space begins to assume the shape of the thought, how this kind of undefined is the best word I can find, undefined space of consciousness, of knowingness, how it begins to form into the thought itself. And let's try to see if we can be aware of the forming of how this space changes into the thought. And probably one of two things just happened. Either you were completely able to notice how the thought came out of nowhere, and the mind space, the consciousness inside, became the thought and was the thought, without any sort of inner perceiver of the mind, perceiver of the thought. So just a full expression of the thought knowing itself. Or the other version would be that you were partially aware of how the thought was formed, meaning you became aware of the thought slightly after it was already formed. So this would be the experience of noticing that you're already thinking, kind of suddenly becoming aware in the midst of thinking. Like, oh, I'm thinking this, and it may be the fifth thought in a row, and only now you're becoming aware of the thoughts. So the second option is the state of mind identification. This happens when you take yourself to be the thoughts unknowingly, the character of the thoughts, and not even the character of the thoughts, but some invisible mental observer of the thoughts, an inner thinker. So your inner mind space is divided into two parts, the actual thought and the thinker who's aware of the thought. So there's an inner split into two things, two parts of your mind. The mind is split into two. So now let's realize together that the point of becoming aware of thoughts is to slowly or very suddenly, even instantaneously, bring the mind, which is operating from this second kind of mode, this second mode of thinking, thought consciousness, into the first, in all of its aspects. Because in some aspects, like in relationships or at work or with certain specific kind of people, or when some specific emotions arise, the mind may have the tendency to be on the other side more, on the second side or the first side. So there's different degrees of freedom in different aspects of the mind. So the most freedom available is when you find the most contracted spaces inside yourself and free those and bring it back together. Bring that split back into one, so the mind owns itself again. It knows itself as the source of the split. So there's no fear of anything that can arise in the mind, because the mind is aware of itself. It cannot be afraid of itself. Any fear images, fear mental formulations are only forms of the mind itself, and nothing is afraid of itself, because it is itself. There's nothing to be afraid of. Even if you look in the mirror and put on the most scary face you can think of, you're not actually scared, because you know it's you. So how to do this? Let's just keep it really simple and bring a mental image into mind. And let's close the eyes and bring an image into the mind. And now let go of the image and place your attention to the space where the image was, which is the same space in which the next image will also be. So put your attention on the space of the inner consciousness. Now, again, there's two things that can happen. Like instantly, you'll just do it and relax into it, and you'll know exactly what's happening, what I'm talking about. Or you'll have no idea, or you'll think you have some idea, and you'll put your attention on some kind of emptiness, something. But then when the thought comes, you can maybe become aware of the first couple thoughts, but then you forget. And that's a sign that you didn't put your attention on the consciousness itself. You put your attention on something within consciousness and tried to keep it locked in that one specific corner of the whole. So let's now find out how we can let go of that and come in contact with the actual consciousness, which is completely within your experience right now. It's all you have. So this is not difficult. It's the easiest thing to do when you somehow just get it. And sometimes it just takes someone to let you know, because not many people talk about this kind of stuff. So here we go. So now, likely, if you experienced it the second kind of, like you were able to and are able to somehow stay in that kind of emptiness of mind for a little while, but then it easily goes away. then let's close the eyes and put your attention again inside you in the space in which thinking happens. And look for the next thought. And now notice that the sensation and the kind of half visual, half somatic sense of being a person inside a consciousness, or being a person inside the body, or having a mind, being inside the head, all these things, that's a thought. That is the next thought already. So let's let go of this completely and become aware of the space in which this thought is appearing. And when we allow the next thought to appear like a more solid thought, like the visual image of a beach, it's never the mental construction of yourself that is aware of the beach. It's more like the beach image is an alive image of the beach, which is naturally aware of itself as it's happening. And the kind of mechanism of the mind, what it's doing, it's when the beach image of the mind as the beach is knowing itself, then it projects a being, a form. The mind projects a form of itself to somehow appear as the seer of the beach. But notice that you don't need any kind of a being or a person or a physical body to be aware of your mind assuming the form of that beach image in the mind. The beach is spontaneously, naturally self-aware, just like all thoughts are. So now again, let's put the attention on the space in which thoughts appear. And it should be feeling a little bit more free, like there's less activity going on, less judging, less thinking about this process, because the thinking about the process is the next thought. And that thinking is not what is aware of the thinking. Do you see that? It's super easy. And now we're naturally noticing that it's not so much, even though I'm saying, like, put your attention on this or this, it's more like let go of every object of the mind. And that just means let go of everything, relax totally. Don't keep your attention on anywhere specific. And stay aware of the next spontaneous arising in the mind space. So it's a subtle distinction. To keep attention on awareness itself, on the mind space, the consciousness itself, means to let go of every mind object, even attitude or sensations of trying to keep your attention on this or this. Stop all that and relax into a space where it doesn't even feel like you're being aware. Let go of that. So just let your mind return into its natural default state when there's no activity, no commands active. And you can do it. It's easy because it's the baseline of your brain, basically. And then you can easily become aware of the quote-unquote next mind movement, because when there's no center point, when there's no relational quality within the mind, it's easy to notice the next movement. And so the difference is, if you're having this sensation of being a specific person who has the consciousness, who has its own mind, to whom all the sensations belong, to whom the visual experiences belong, that's a central, that's a thought basically. And your mind is trying to stabilize itself into referring every other experience to this one central experience. And now we're just letting go of all experiences so that the next experience is not related to anything prior. You see this? It's easy. So when the next thought is the image of your own face from within, from the inside, that is not related to any prior being. So there is no thought of, oh, this is my face, or this is the face I always have, or this is the face that proves to me that I am a person. These things cannot be there because it appeared out of a complete relaxation, out of a complete letting go. But if the sensation of the face appears right after the sensation of trying to find consciousness, then it kind of makes sense in the mind world that this face belongs to you. And this is your face, which is blocking you from seeing the absolute and all this kind of nonsense. So the invitation is, let go of all the objects of your mind so completely that the next thought has nothing to be compared to, has no reference frame, has no timeline to be put upon. So the next thought can be completely seen as just what it is. Try it out.